Last week, the Premier League announced a new television rights deal worth an astonishing £5 billion. And with all this money flooding into the top flight, a lot of people are asking whether the leagues are doing enough to support the football community as a whole. From cutting the price of ticketing to properly investing in grassroots football, there's so many things that the league could be doing with their latest cash windfall. Football Beyond Borders is a charity that uses football as a means of tackling inequality, and they're currently running a campaign aimed at getting the Premier League and its clubs to pay all their staff the living wage. So I caught up with them to find out more. So Joel, do you want to tell me first and foremost a little bit about Football Beyond Borders and what the campaign you're running at the moment is?
Yeah, so Football Beyond Borders is we're basically a youth-led charity that uses the power of football to tackle inequality. And we do this in a few ways, firstly through kind of projects with young people that use football for kind of education, empowerment. But we also use football as a tool for campaigning against inequality and for a fairer society.
For us, football is so important. It's the greatest passion that people have, many of us have in our society, but there's something that doesn't fit quite right with us right now. The fact that, you know, on the one hand you have football players being paid £300,000 a week, and on the other hand you have many workers who are engaged working in the game who are receiving sort of poverty wages that they can't really survive on.
What exactly is the living wage?
So the living wage, it's basically been calculated by researchers at Loughborough University as just the minimum amount that people need to earn per hour in order to just have a decent quality of life, basically. In London it's £9.15 an hour, and outside of London it's £7.85.
So it seemed like a no-brainer, you know, to try and get involved in this campaign, to harness the power that football has to try and improve the kind of wage structure that exists within the game.
Have any clubs adopted this policy?
Yeah, so there have been about 4 clubs that have adopted it so far, and the clubs that have adopted it go right through the Football League, so from Chelsea at the top to FC United at the bottom, via Luton and Hearts. So what that really shows is that it's really all about principles rather than about, you know, how much money they have.
Why do you think some clubs are reluctant to jump on board with this campaign?
Well, I think it's kind of symptomatic of the way the football's going at the moment in general, in that clubs are being run purely as businesses, and what businesses do is they try and depress the wages of their staff at the bottom. I think that's something that that fans are picking up on as well, the fact that ticket prices are so expensive, that membership or, you know, the food even at half time is so expensive, and it's all kind of symptomatic of the way that clubs are run as businesses rather than for the community.
The living wage, it's not currently a legal obligation, it's a voluntary measure, but we believe that responsible employers should do the right thing. There's been lots of evidence in other sectors. And what they found is when they paid the living wage, that actually there's been increased staff retention, there's been greater job satisfaction.
You know, it's the difference between being able to get the tube to work instead of getting a bus, so you have an extra half hour or an hour to spend with your family at the end of the day. You know, it's the difference between, you know, literally being able to heat your home or pay the bills or, you know, put decent food on the table for your kids or things like that.
There's something beautiful about the British game, and, you know, it's the fans and it's the workers that make the game, and I think we can't forget that.
How can other people help out with this campaign, put pressure on those who run the game?
I'd really encourage people to sign our petition that we have, so that's calling on the Premier League to take leadership on this issue and pay all their staff a living wage. We'll also be, in the next couple of months, organising various kind of protests to put extra pressure on them. And there are also kind of smaller campaigns at a lot of local clubs as well. So, you know, if you support a club and you find out that they're not paying the living wage, I'd really encourage you to, you know, ask around, find people, search on Twitter, and the chances are there'll be a kind of campaign there that you can get involved in.
It seems inconceivable to me that there are clubs that can afford to pay their players the equivalent of £1,200 an hour, yet somehow can't find the funds to pay their less high-profile stars £10 an hour. These are people that are working at clubs up and down the country without whom football simply wouldn't be able to function. The people who serve your beers, who keep your stand safe, who clean up after you. It's about time that Richard Scudamore and the clubs that he represents did something to help the lifeblood of football, without whom there would be no Premier League match days to televise.